Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec, and welcome to Punched Out Thursday, a YouTube collaboration where a few crafty YouTubers share ideas every Thursday on what to do with all those punches collecting dust in so many scrap rooms. I'm going to put links to Ronnie's, Kathy's, and Krista's channels below, so be sure to check them out because they have amazing ideas. I'm going to be doing a layout process video today, and I'm going to be talking a lot about flower clusters and how easy it is to create a huge impact with just a few punches. That's what I'm going to be using here. I'm going to be using a few other punches as well, but basically I'm concentrating on flowers and leaves. I did do a bit of preparation in advance. I selected my photos. I prepared a frame style foundation with 3 sheets of paper and I gutted 2 of them. Actually, I made the mat for my photo as well as those frames with that wood grain paper from the foundation page. Here are flower punches and a leaf punch, and you don't need exactly those punches to do what I'm doing, but you do need flower punches. I'm going to show you how to do something fun with them. So I'm going to continue at this point to prepare my foundation page. So I'm slicing this down at 4.5 inches wide, and then I'm going to trim it at 11.25 inches. From here on in, all measurements will be written on the screen, and that's basically where I will be placing those small wallet-sized photos. But what I want to do is create frames for them. So this is a bundle by Stampin' Up called Heritage Frames, and it's basically a die set as well as an embossing folders. They match, and I'm using the rectangles. There's also ovals. So I cut out my frames in advance, and those frames fit right inside those embossing folders. And I'm just going to slip it through my embossing machine, and it makes a really beautiful embossed image. And I'm not sure if you're actually going to be able to see it on the screen. Maybe at the end of this video with the close-ups, you'll be able to see it better. Now these frames, the opening, fit very nicely with wallet-sized photos. So I'm framing up my photos, and in a minute what you're going to see me do is back these with white cardstock. Now this isn't necessary. I cut them in advance. I cut 2 pieces of white cardstock for each frame to put behind. Really what I wanted to do was add a bit of dimension to the page. And if you look at the white cardstock I'm using, it's stamped. There's adhesive on it. Basically, they're my past mistakes. I have a zippered pouch full of them, and that's what I use to do this type of thing. So I don't feel guilty. I'm not cutting into brand new cardstock when I do this. I'm going to adhere these 3 photos to that green strip of paper, but I won't adhere that green strip to the page quite yet, because in a minute what you're going to see me do is some background stamping. Basically what I'm going to do is stamp 3 areas on this page where eventually I will do some embellishment clusters. Now at this point you're probably wondering if I'll ever get punches out, considering this is Punched Out Thursday. And the answer is yes, but it's going to be more towards the end of this video when I actually decorate this page. So I'm putting this down. Another thing I'd like to point out, when I do my stamping in a minute, you're going to notice I'm testing out ink colors. So I get out the ink, and I get out Baked Brown Sugar by Stampin' Up, and I stamp it twice on this piece of scrap paper. I'm looking for the color I want. So I have a darker one, and on the second one it's a bit lighter, and I go with the lighter one. But what I should have done here was I should have cut out that white paper, placed it on my foundation page, then played with my page parts. And I'm telling you this because at the end of this video, I end up changing it for the darker color. Anyway, I'll talk about that later. Right now, as you can see, I'm using washi tape. So basically, when I'm stamping, I want this stamp to kind of bleed off the page, but I don't want to ink the frame. So I'm using washi tape to mask the frame. And once I do the stamping, then I carefully peel off the washi tape, and it's just a great way to mask things that you don't want to ink. I don't think I mentioned the name of this stamp set. It's called Versailles by Stampin' Up. It's absolutely beautiful, and what I'm using this month, well, in this video, is my stash kit for the month of February, and I threw in this stamp set because it's in my stash and I have never used it, but it really is beautiful. Now what you see me doing is stamping a title. Actually, it simply says "Have a beautiful day," but I didn't want the word "have" there, so I actually once again used washi tape to mask the word "have." I put ink on the stamp, removed the washi tape, and then I stamped. So I simply got the sentiment, "A beautiful day," which is exactly what I wanted. Anyway, you'll see that a bit later on as well when I work with the title. So I'm adhering the page parts to the screen at this point. And now what I'm going to do is prepare a spot to do my journaling. I plan to put my title in my embellishment cluster. You'll see that later on. So really what's important here is to establish a spot for my journaling. So I get out a punch. It's the Delightful Tag Topper by Stampin' Up. And there are 3 different widths you can punch with this particular punch, and I'm doing the largest one at 2 inches. So I make myself 2 tags in graph paper, and I'm going to tuck them to the right of the photo. I'm going to stagger them a bit, and I am going to create some reinforcers for these tags. So you'll see that in a minute. Basically, to do that, I take a hole punch, then a 1/2 inch circle punch, and I punch out around it, and that gives me a nice little ring to adhere to the tag, and it just makes a tag look a little bit more finished. Later on, I will be doing my writing there as well as adding some string, but right now I have at least the spot for my journaling, which is important. And now I'm finally going to get to my punches to these floral clusters. So what's important here is to have at least 2 different size flowers. It doesn't have to be the same flower. It doesn't have to be these flowers, but 2 different flowers. So I'm punching them out in 2 different colors. I've got 3 colors going here though, and I've got 2 circle punches, a 3/4 inch circle punch and a 1/2 inch circle punch. So I'm also punching out circles for the middle, which just looks nice. I suppose you could use enamel dots here as well. And then what I'm going to do is punch out some leaves. So I have this leaf punch, that's easy enough, but I'm going to show you very quickly how to make another leaf. It's basically with a circle punch, you punch a circle, then you slip the circle halfway in the circle punch, and it gives you a nice little leaf. So if you don't have a leaf punch, you can always do that. So I did some off camera, and now I have a pile of them, and basically I'm going to start building up clusters. I'm going to make 3 clusters, a large one and 2 complementary ones. So the large one's up top, and the 2 complementary ones are one on the right and one on the left. So I start more or less with flowers, the big ones, then add in smaller ones, and then tuck in some leaves. So I work around with that. I'm not gluing at this point. I just kind of want to see if I like it, but I do want to add my title above those tags amongst that flower cluster. So I took that sentiment that I stamped, I punched it out with an oval punch, and I have kind of a scalloped oval punch, a bit larger. So I'm going to put that behind there. And now what you see me do is punch out more ovals, and basically I'm adhering one oval on top of the other. I think it's 3 layers thick, and the idea here is that title is super small within that embellishment cluster, so I want it to pop out a bit. So by adding several layers of that white paper, it just makes it stand up a bit, kind of like what I did with the frames. I also end up popping that one up on foam adhesive as well. So I'm continuing with my floral clusters, trying to remember where I had put them, because now at this point I'm adhering them. They are a little bit different, but one thing it is fun to do is as you're building them, it's fun to add extra leaves in there. It's also fun not to glue all the petals down, because that way you can kind of flip them up on top of the title part there, on top of the photo. So just not to glue every petal down so that you have a little bit of movement within the petals. Now what you see me doing is adding some twine. That's linen thread by Stampin' Up. And off camera I will do my journaling. And it's at this point that I realized I didn't like the stamping on the background. I didn't have a lighter color pen to do my journaling, so it was a darker espresso color. And when I had the journaling down, for whatever reason, the lighter stamping up top was just standing out at me. I didn't like it. I almost scrapped the layout. Finally, I just took a little break. Then I thought, you know what? I lifted everything off the page. I stamped it in dark, and then I put everything back down. And it sounds much worse than it was. Honestly, it probably took about 10 minutes to do, and I'm really happy with the results. But had I used the templates earlier on and played around with page parts, I would have avoided that altogether. So we all learn from our mistakes. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to Scrapbooking Quebec if you haven't already. And please check out the other ladies. I put their links in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.